Hello, my name is Yudao. I am a monk here at SokukoJi. If you are inspired by these talks and these teachings, please consider joining us for our other forums, online or in person, and also consider helping us financially. We could use your support if you are able. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight in this monk training practice called Mondo. In this case, rather than this person asking questions, this monk, Chokada, will ask questions of this teacher. And then after a while, we'll open it up so that people here in the Zendo at the monastery can ask questions, and also then people who have joined us online can ask questions of either myself or Tokugawa. Did you have enough time to prepare for this? 20 minutes was enough? Questions if you have them. If you don't, I'll question you.
Chokudao bowing, how do the three yanas show up in this monastery?
The three yanas, how do the three yanas show up in this monastery? Hinayana, Vajrayana, and Mahayana in that order?
If you like.
How about Shravakayana, Bodhisattvayana, and Mahayana? Is that just one you're talking about?
Or, yeah, I guess you could say the 9 yanas.
Oh, we go that direction. Simply, what's your question? I didn't respond to it.
Chokudao bowing, it's coming out of, I feel that you've been asked a lot about Vajrayana teachings, and I have as well, and just trying to give more practical idea of how do the yanas show up in practice.
Over here, they show up as train your mind to see clearly. And then when you see your complete failure at that, then turn over your life to others and help others who are also trapped in the illusion of samsara. Help them. Give service to them because you're not fundamentally separate from them. Finding out that you're fundamentally not separate seems to show up in the Hinayana, thereby generating the Mahayana. And then the Vajrayana is a secret mantra, as I understand it. And that has to do with something that is happens between the teacher and the student rather than some kind of general description. Although there are teachers who generally describe it, from Trungpa Rinpoche to Kalu Rinpoche to His Holiness the 16th, His Holiness the 17th. Recently, Zongsar Jamyang Khyentse Rinpoche has been talking about that. So it's just a way of breaking it up. Fundamentally, there's only Ekayana. And you know what that is? One of those three. Whoop, slipped out. Watu. Sikub.
Mhm.
Okay, we better be respectful of the audience here. Ask a serious question.
Chokudao bowing, are any of the yanas emphasized in the way you teach?
Generally speaking, it's Hinayana Mahayana. It's generally the way I teach. And then specifically Vajrayana to individuals. But even that, there's no way to hold it down because all three of those show up in different ways. Maybe in one particular teaching, one Dharma talk, all three of them could show up. if you needed to find out how to describe a particular teaching.
Chokodao bowing. I guess from any point, any of the Yana's point of view, but I'm thinking Mahayana point of view. What is the most, or what are some of the most helpful things one can do to benefit others?
Listen, receive. Don't do it in English, you have to. And if you're receiving, we were gifted with all of these sense fields and sense organs in order to be able to see the non-differentiation. But it starts out as being differentiated. Human beings have been foraging for food for millions of years, at least a million. We're looking for something. People are addicted to looking for something. So save all beings, put others before yourself, which usually looks like you can't do that. Actually you can, but the reason you say you can't do that is because you're looking for proof, which is the very nature of ego, is to look for proof, reference point, relate. Am I doing, I'm getting this feedback, so it must be wrong. Getting this feedback must be right. Getting no feedback must be inconsequential.
In that realm of feedback, is that why it's so helpful to have a close connection to a teacher?
Yes. The feedback you get from a true teacher is the same feedback you give to yourself if you knew how to heal yourself, to use the Western word heal. Same thing you say to a Labrador, heal. I'm getting some scowls. People are saying, Sokuzan, stop being dumb.
Mm.
You're the one that's causing me to do that.
This is going to be the worst one ever. So
Go ahead.
often when we ask you questions about relative things or ultimate, you point us back to looking within and receiving. Is that, I guess, that seems Hinayana in a way, but the way that you're pointing at that seems like you're using that Hinayana form. I'm trying to get to the question. Why is, or I guess it's a why question. Why is that where we're continually pointed back to when we're trying to figure out the ultimate and how to help others?
The trying to figure out area is absorbed by, magnetized by, and seduced by the illusion that this is real. The figuring, the calculation is all exterior. When it comes to consciousness only, there's nothing to calculate, nothing to figure out, but there's something to see. And that the actual thingness of what you're seeing goes away because you're not seeing anything but yourself. Not just the ego self, but fundamental identity, not separate.
Is consciousness only, or is that same or similar to not separate?
Yes.
Is consciousness only always aware?
Awareness is an aspect of consciousness where we deliberately, being in the context of an organism, a human being, where we are aware of what we see, aware of what we taste, aware of what we smell or think or feel or remember. But there's no one doing that. As soon as one tries to do something with what you're aware of or what you perceive, you do anything with it other than perceive it, you separate it out and reinforce the primary misunderstanding, which is identity, that there is a person, there is an other. So what's being said is just receive, just observe, just receive. Awareness is just a concept, a word that is endeavoring to talk to that dynamic in consciousness that just receives. You just hear, you don't know what you've heard. You just see, you don't know what you've seen. You just think, you don't know what you're thinking. You just feel, just remember. And there's no validation for it, there's no proof for it. So therefore the ego has a very difficult time in this area because it wants reassurance. And if you see this, if you see it, if you personally see it, or if anyone sees this, you don't need to be reassured. You could have 8 students and they all could listen to you teach. If you see what this is, it doesn't matter what you do. They could all leave, it won't matter. They can all think that you're a terrible teacher and they need somebody else to do this. They need a real Vajra master. But you see what is coming and going. You see that it's unreal, and you see that anything that happens over here is caused by that. It's caused by that, by that, by that, by that. The by that's don't stop. They go on until time vanishes and space vanishes into justice. You will see it. If you see it, you will have no credential. Did I do a good job of avoiding your question?
Mhm. Chokodabang, in the area of not separate, if one is not separate, could they be aware of something they're not separate from?
We can't.
They can?
We can't.
They can't.
We can't. So that's why it's the intention is what's important. Just intend. Because we think we think we can be aware of whatever we want to be aware of. I can be aware of that. I can be aware of this. I can be aware of my thoughts. I can be aware of my breathing. So that's why it's so important to have the intention to see what this is and then observe what happens out of that intention to see that you're looking for results and then you see you don't get any. And then you, at some point or points, or maybe there's no point, you see that nothing is really happening. All this work on intending and yet you don't see anything.
Can the identity or ego take credit or get a credential thinking that it's being aware?
Sure.
And do we do anything with that other than just observe it?
It's about all you can do. We really don't have much say so about anything. But the illusion that you have, or the illusion you just work hard enough and you can control this and you can win, you can be ahead. And so the singularity called ego is at the mercy of the winds of karma. It's just at the mercy of that. Some people have really, really good health. They get no credit for that. Some people have terrible health, get no credit for that, get no blame for anything. Some people have terrible emotional stuff, no blame, no praise, no blame. You don't have to accomplish anything. Doesn't matter what happens. It is in the illusion. If you see what it is, everything that you thought was in motion is complete stillness. I'm not trying to be romantic and fancy.
You said everything that seems like emotion.
Like motion.
Oh, emotion, not emotion.
Only on the internet. Don't you dare compete with me.
I'm being genuinely confused right now. Am I winning?
Way ahead of the game. I'm the loser here.
Hmm. So is consciousness only conceptually the fruition?
Conceptually, yes, but nothing actually occurs. It's more like something is uncovered, as you heard me speak about that before. It's like something is, that's like a recovery. This is more like recovering something.
And can consciousness only perceive anything?
Consciousness perceives, and it's a direct perception. But in the conventional sense of relative truth, nothing occurs, nothing shows up as something that has any kind of validity to it, or is because it's not true. So another way of saying it is we see it, but it's an illusion, so it's not real. If you have a dream about running down a road and suddenly there's a big thunderstorm and you run into a purple barn, you hide out from the storm. Did anything happen? It's an illusion. Same thing with this. It's unreal. And it's intensely convincing and believable and realistic. You can see through that. Maybe you don't want to, but if you're here and you're a monk, you're ordained, the Buddha talked about this 2,500 years ago, and here we are still endeavoring to see what he was pointing at.
I had another one, but I lost it.
Well,
Sure.
you read Mandarin.
No.
It's a regular binding. You can flip the pages.
You want me to ask a question out of this?
No,
No.
pretty comfortable here with no questions.
When you say it doesn't matter what you do, it matters that you're aware of it. What do we do when it feels like it really matters what we do and we don't have that idea to fall on?
You've heard that message. It's not about falling on it. It's being aware that you don't have that idea to fall on. So it's always in a relative way, reconstituting the original intention, which is to be aware. So if you see that you can't be aware, then be aware that you can't be aware. Because that's the ego that's saying that. Awareness doesn't have an object. Awareness is not separate from anything, anywhere. And it's ordinary and it's sacred.
Do we have to sometimes completely care about everything we're doing and maybe later on see?
Yes, caring and not caring are not separate from each other. They just look like it. It's the only be aware of caring and be aware of not caring, be aware of being indifferent, and then be aware of being very passionate. then be aware of being very mad. Awareness, 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 awareness. It just doesn't, it won't feel, excuse me, appropriate. And it will, you'll have all kinds of, society will tell you it's not, and ethics will show where you're wrong, and you're broken samaya, broken the precepts, and you, this person, this consciousness needs to see this. It will not be a conclusion. It will not be an experience. It may be the lack of conclusions and the lack of experience. It's consciousness that speaks. It's consciousness that listens. There are no people anywhere.
So even when we think we're speaking, it's still just consciousness.
We lie. We lie to ourselves in order to protect what? That which is not threatened. Consciousness.
It seems extremely subtle that one could be aware or not aware, and maybe seeing in retrospect, they could see if they were aware or not aware, which all sounds like path. Is that why it takes years and years and years of sitting and studying to see all these subtle areas that maybe we weren't aware?
Yes, wear it out. Nothing shows up. If something shows up, it can do whatever it wants. It's just part of the whole dependent origination, but it's fundamentally, it's unreal. It's an illusion. It's very convincing to believe that you are a body, to believe that you are a mind. And of course, even though Dogen said, drop off body and mind, as he learned from his teacher in China, Ru Jing, drop off body and mind. It's about seeing the way you hang on to those, not so much about getting rid of them. If you see that, then you see there's no one doing that. That's how you actually scooch your way into pratitya samutpada, dependent origination, and function as dependent origination. You feel like a criminal. Sometimes pronounced criminal.
That's how
You feel like you're fooling yourself. It can't be this. It can't be just what? Go with the flow? Nah, that can't be it. That's too simple.
So if you can see,
I'm not done. So what else could you say by go with the flow that doesn't sound quite so corny? It's a teaching.
be with all things.
That's one. Another one is rest in the nature of Alaya, which is a very conceptual statement. It seems to have been necessary to really study about what is the Alaya, what is the store consciousness, what is Alaya, what is vijnana or consciousness, before you can rest in it or go with the flow. Now you can speak.
No, I can't. I don't remember.
We have a few more people out there in the internet. So do you have any more for me, or should I turn it over to the Zendo and then to Zoom?
Turn it over.
Okay. Questions in here for me or for this gentleman, Chokudawa Dharmakaya Moon?
Arbalinka bowing. I have a question for Chokudawa. How do you see Sokuzan teaching Vajrayana in general? Do you see that happening here, Bala?
I do. I feel tentative to talk about it very much. I feel like when I first met Sokuzan, he was not necessarily teaching me Vajrayana, but there were things that were almost casually being pointed to that later on, as I studied Vajrayana and received different teachings, I saw that I had a hunch that that was happening, but then it was kind of confirmed by other things I had studied. And now being here, I see a lot of it as well. It always comes to me, it always comes back to that true student idea of it almost doesn't matter what someone teaches, it's whatever you can get out of it. So I feel like we're all receiving the teachings we need from this teacher or another teacher. It's like our path is so personal and completely impersonal as well, because there's no one there.
Well, thank you. Well, one more. Is this what's meant by teachings that are self-secret? That you may be receiving Vajrayana teachings, but whether you understand it or not is a self-secret part.
I think so, as far as I can tell. And an example would be the Mahamudra teachings. They have a sutra version and a tantra version, and they're exactly the same. But it depends on if you had pointing out instruction and you have a teacher, basically. As I went to someone was doing Sutra Mahamudra retreat, and it was the same stuff that I had been learning in the Vajrayana version. So it's that quality I see here often is you can come here as a Vajrayana student and receive Vajrayana teachings, as far as I can tell.
Blinking about Sokuzan, do you agree with what he said?
What do you say?
You can come here and receive Vajrayana teachings.
Yes,
That was the last thing he said.
you can.
Do you have to ask for them, or are they just spontaneous teachings?
Both. Neither. What do you mean by Vajrayana?
Self-secret,
Oh.
I guess. I don't know.
Your whispered lineage. That doesn't mean somebody whispered in your ear.
Shuiwa bowing. A question for Chokodawa and then a follow-up for Sokuzan. How can you tell if you're a true student?
I don't. Well, there's no credential. There's no like proof. So maybe you can't tell. It probably comes back to intention again. And my version of that is just being at a lot of weekend retreats with teachers I did not like at all, teaching material that I loved. And it was very painful. But I kept doing it and just learned for myself that it sounds kind of dumb, but it's like making the best of the situation. Kind of corny. But how are you going to receive these teachings? So that's the best version I could find, was someone I didn't really agree with even teaching things and transmitting things. So that's my own home-baked version of being a true student.
Shui Wu Baoing and Sokuzan, are there indications of students that make you aware that they are what you might call a true student? Baoing.
It varies a lot from one person to the next. There's so many variabilities, since I have no need to lock down on anything. Particularly, that seems to be in flux all the time. Anything's possible. A person can be really on receive for quite some time, and then situations, causes and conditions, something frightens them, something changes over from the teachings they've been receiving into something that doesn't work. So they might have to head off in another direction, as we've seen. Doesn't make anybody wrong. Right and wrong are just extra stuff that we use to establish some kind of relative validity. It's an illusion.
Shui Wu Baoing, so would you say that our ability to receive as a student makes it a genuine connection?
Probably genuine. The student listens to the teachings, listens to the teacher, listens to the Sangha, receives, and insofar as one is able, don't come to conclusions about it. If the conclusions come to you, that's different. There's quite a difference in you concluding out of hope or fear, or the conclusion just being obvious. That won't happen. It's not likely for that to happen right away. It might take many years.
Thank you.
Anyone else in here? Yes.
Kanjima Bowing, Chokudawa Sokuzan is so confident when he says it's about attention. It's not about accomplishing anything. I don't see that in the sutras or Dharma. Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Where?
Diamond Sutra.
What does it say?
Also the Avatamsaka Sutra and the Lotus Sutra. It says, I can't remember which one, but it'll say a bodhisattva, a person, when they first make the very first intention of a bodhisattva to benefit all beings, there's more merit in that than any conceivable merit you could ever possibly be aware of. And in the Avatamsaka Sutra, which is that huge one, it goes on and on and on and on and on, explaining all these mind-blowing volumes of merit that one could receive by offering jewels to the Buddhas and all these things. Very, very rich, but none of it compares to just that first little idea of maybe I could save all beings.
Sokuzan, you are so confident about about intention. Where does that come from?
No source for it. It just is. It's just the intention.
What do you see that makes you so confident that it's about intention?
I don't see anything basically, but relatively I see the illusion. I hear your voice, I hear my voice, I see my hand move, I see people on the screen. This is not real. It's very, very convincing. You don't have to go the other way and be stubborn about it and elbow your way through the crowd of illusion. You can actually dance with the illusion. And how you dance will come out of awareness rather than out of some kind of agenda about how you look, what other people think, what you think. The confidence is that shows up here. I don't particularly feel confident. That might be something you're perceiving, but it's not a confidence about something. Even saying we're not separate, nothing is separate, nothing comes from its own place as somebody. Just obvious. It's like if you were saying to me, Sokuzan, you stick your finger in a glass of water and you're so confident it's wet. You know, that's how it feels here. I know. I don't know, and I have no proof. I have even the experience I'm having is not an experience of an illusion. I'm not experiencing, woo, everything is so unreal. Just like in a dream, we're convinced. It's being convinced. See how firmly convinced you are that this is an illusion. It lets you know it's unreal. More.
Conjure bowing, you're saying that the illusion, and you're seeing that it's an illusion, gives you confidence that it's an illusion.
Yes. The illusion sees itself. And she doesn't run away. She doesn't join, and she certainly doesn't ignore. She who moves through space.
Conjure bowing, you are saying it's about intention.
That's the path. The ground of suffering. The path is awareness or intention. Get to the cushion, get to the altar, offer incense, intention. Study the Dharma. Go ahead.
Conjure bowing, so that is the illusion. Part of the illusion.
Yes.
So you're teaching us to, is it trust that this is an illusion, to
Don't
see
trust anything.
that this is an illusion?
Just intend to see what this is. And at some point you find that you thought at some point you were someone who was intending and kind of not getting anywhere and maybe making a little progress and then not getting anywhere. And then just see there never was anything. There never was a teacher. There never was a student. There never was an intention. There never was anything. Everything's empty of what you think and full of what it is. And to use the relative statement, what is it full of? Awakened truth. Nothing sleeps. No one sleeps. It's amazing to wake up inside of a human form and see that you're not really a human, nor you're not a human. There's 3 knots right there. Spelled with a N.
Conjure bowing. So when you describe what you're seeing,
Yes.
you sound confident. And we're trusting that as
And I
students.
sound full of myself, like I'm arrogant and pushy, and I think I know everything. And why don't I sound that way?
Why? Because of how I am predisposed to interpret what you're saying as confidence rather than? Is that true?
Why don't you ask me a question like, Sokuzan, how does it feel over there?
Sokuzan, how does it feel over there?
Terrible. This is my way of saying it doesn't matter how you feel. If it matters how you feel, then you have relative confidence or lack confidence. You're constantly looking for some kind of reassurance that you're somebody that's being honest or truthful or somebody that's on the path and somebody that's doing the right thing. And the other way I've talked about that as a teaching is don't miss your life. Receive everything that shows up as a gift, no matter how much it smells. No matter what it is. If you don't do that, then you get caught in the labyrinth of gossip and right and wrong should be and what she said about them and what they said about her. It's just an astonishing stage play. Get to the front row. You don't have to leave the theater. That's going to happen soon enough.
Conjure bowing, when is it not trust? It seems like there's to be here to do this practice. There is trust in your teaching.
Yes.
And yet what you're pointing at is impossible to see.
Yes.
And like Chokodawa was saying, it's in the Dharma.
Yes, as she says, it was a Diamond Sutra, Avatam Sakra Sutra. I can't quote chapter and verse.
And you are embodying that. And we trust that.
It might be more like it's embodying you. Everything is coming out of consciousness, embodying. It just looks like you had a mom and a dad and a high school companion or a dog a few years ago. It just looks like that. It's just so convincing. Just like the past, half an hour ago, we were all in the other room eating. Half an hour from now, we'll be headed for Vermont. We're going to Vermont. I'm saying we'll be doing something else. Unreal. Well, sure.
Kabbalah question for Chokodawa. The questions we ask, are they all offering that original intention to path?
Not all. Like 70%.
Kabbalah. So then if we ask a self-serving know-it-all question, does that offer anything to the intention to see the truth?
Yep. I think it can. I think well, it could, my own experience, you can offer a question completely full of pride and arrogance and competitiveness, wanting to look a certain way, but not seeing any of that. And you can do the same thing, being aware of that, like, I guess, being vulnerable or revealing your arrogance. And that can be a fine line, perhaps. That's what's coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sokuzan,
Sure.
if we ask a question, is there anything in that is an intention, following to ourselves or the teacher? Following?
What would show up as, if I understand your question, what would show up as not intention is making presumptions about how good your question is, and also making presumptions about the nature of the response, that it needs to live up to a certain idea. So those are all cutting into the intention. True intention doesn't look for results, even though it's a question. The question I say to you, ask you a question, what's the fundamental nature of reality? Then you would respond, and I would receive that, but I wouldn't necessarily evaluate that, nor would I take that in as some kind of information. Wouldn't do anything with it. Am I getting close to what you're? Nothing actually happens. But it looks like it, and most of the world is functioning as if this is happening, we have to stop it. This is happening, we need more of it. This is happening, and who cares? Passion, aggression, ignorance. Variations on that, incredibly countless kinds of nuance between those three. Shutting down, looking away, pushing. The kind of passion that is grasping, the kind of passion that is blaming this way or that way. Passion. All that being said, if you have the intention to see the truth, all of those things are welcome, because they're right with the intention. They don't have any power when it comes to the intention of the Bodhisattva vow. Vow to be with all things. Because you can't do anything but fail if you're leaving footprints in the illusion.
Milk bowing, if it looks like there's some kind of gradation or amount of intention, then have we left the intention?
No, not necessarily. Would just be a path. Those things are going to fluctuate this way and that way for anyone who's on the path, any practitioner. Eventually it just wears out in terms of some kind of understanding with the illusion of time. Just it can't last. It succumbs to the fundamental nature of the three marks, which is impermanence. Impermanence, suffering, and no self.
Milk bowing, you said it succumbs. What is the it?
The consciousness that shows up as some kind of positionality just wears out. We get tired of trying to find a place to lean our elbow on. All the tables disappear. Nothing seems to support what this is. And then the elbow itself vanishes. Like it was never even here.
Shui Wu bowing. Is intention so important because we're so trapped by this illusion? It's the most we could do.
Yes. I was pausing and seeing if there's any other thing I could say besides that. If you have more questions, though, I have more to say about it, but it has to be to your question, not to something I'm dreaming up.
Shui Wu bowing. Is intention more than just wanting things to be different than they are?
Yes. Because intention is more about, it's more like a what is this? The intention to see. So it's what is this, or what is this? The intention to see the truth rather than constantly looking around to see how you're doing and if you're doing better, if you're improving, if other people are treating you with respect, and all the other hooks that happen in the illusion to keep us on that turntable of relative truth, success and failure, night and day, sleep and sleeplessness. You don't have to do a lot of it. You don't have to maintain it, but you have to intend. That's why I teach the TMI 2-minute meditation, is because that's the powerful thing there is the intention. 2 minutes of meditation is it's not the point. Are those helping you be more mindful or more aware? Not maybe. It's the intention. Sit down, hold still, strike the gong, strike the bell, hold still for 2 minutes. Doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter what happens in 2 minutes. And if you happen on another day decide for 4 hours to sit for 4 hours, it does not matter what happens in the 4 hours. What occurs is unreal. It's an illusion. So it can't matter. Ego will take that to great lengths to try to prove that somebody is wrong and something needs to be fixed. And somebody better straighten up. That can be true relatively if you pick out some area of the relativity, but you're just pointing to 2 or 3 chunks of tree bark in the landslide. And the landslide goes back farther than you can see. It goes into the future farther than you can see. It just looks like a present moment.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any questions on what do they call it again?
Purple.
Any questions on purple?
Purple barn.
Barn cat.
Go ahead, Jushin.
Jishin bowing. What is the difference? This is for Chokudawa and you as well after Chokudawa, perhaps. What is the difference between resting in the nature of Alia and going with the flow? Bowing.
One's really good and one's okay.
Which one is good?
Well, you have to see for yourself.
Where did he learn this, Sokuzan?
Did you hear what he said?
Huh?
Was that satisfactory, what he said?
No, I think he's just avoiding the answer.
Are you?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a difference. So let's say there isn't a difference, but also if there were, go with the flow, it tends to be very Western way of working with that idea. It could be workable though for some people. So I don't think it's garbage. What was the other one? Be with all things? No, resting in Alia. You know,
Yes.
that sounds really fancy and esoteric. So that maybe that's more helpful for someone, but it's also it could get in the way because I think I'm pretty cool resting in the nature of Alia because I read all the books on it. So I guess that's why it's humorous. I like to play around with it. And it's helpful to have a teacher for questions like that.
Jishin bowing. For going with the flow, is it helpful to rest in the area? Bowing.
For me or Sokuzan?
For you first.
Okay. I'm trying to, I had a whole bunch of jokes come into my mind again, so the word rest jumped out when you asked that question. So going with the flow could be really busy. That's one way I could see it. And that word rest, I find quite absent in Western culture. So I think that word is extremely important and helpful even in the term rest in the nature of Alia. Did that address your question?
Yes, thank you. And I have one for Sokuzan. You recently started teaching about relaxing, like the last phase of your instruction is to relax. Is that relaxation the same as resting in the nature of Arya? Bowing.
I don't teach it that way, but yes. I don't teach that that's what it is. But yes, it's the same. It's just a simple way of talking about it. Just rest.
Thank you.
Sometimes in the West called laziness. Got 2 more minutes before we close up and go our separate ways or go the ways that are not separate. Okay.
Jishin bowing. May I? This is the first time when I heard from Chokudawa or from anyone that Mahamudra is teaching both of Tantra and Sutra. Can you, Chokudawa, could you please explain the difference between, or maybe point into something in Sadhana of Mahamudra? What is the what is the Tantra and what is the Sutra teaching? Bowing.
I don't think I can. That distinction to me only comes after you have what they would call a guru, and that guru has pointed out the nature of mind to you through various techniques. And there's been probably some study with that teacher around tantric, whatever tantric Mahamudra looks like. So, but neither one is more important. I guess that's the main thing. Studying Sutra Mahamudra, I think that was Gampopa who compiled that, is a path to awakening, just like Tantra Mahamudra. And I don't think we have to do much more with it than that.
Thank you.
We can close. So if someone wants to